There's no rich man in Mark 6.
What? Oh, Mark 10. My bad. um, I mean, we could do
So
Mark.
now so I wasn't worried that you got sex from 6. I am now worried that you got sex from 10.
No one else saw that, right? Hopefully not.
I mean, you did start the recording, so we can put that in the final version if you want.
No, no, no. It's okay. We're gonna get flagged for demonetization before we even start.
Do you want Michael, we can't get monetized yet. Nobody's watched
Oh,
it.
oh, right, right. Oh, this can go in then. This will be fine. It can go in. Hopefully I didn't
Oh
say
my
this was for
gosh.
children. I didn't mean sex. I meant 6, but I actually meant 10, apparently. I thought it was Mark 6.
Technically, sex is 6 in Danish.
Yeah, I meant to say it. Yep, I said it in Danish. That's what we're going
hmm
with. Yeah.
When my grandpa was teaching me how to count to 10 in Danish, he actually, when he got to 6, he was like, and this is a bad word in English, but 6 is sex. I don't remember how to count to 10 in Danish. I only know 6.
Okay, it was Mark 10, 17 through 17. Wait, what?
17 through 30. 17 through. Oh boy.
um,
Okay, hang on. Let me at least skim it real quick.
oh, it was Mark 10, 17 through 27.
27.
You know it very well. I've heard you talk about it multiple times.
Oh yeah.
First,
With man
how's
it is
it?
impossible, but not with God, for all things are possible with God. Okay.
First, how's everything going at RIT? And yeah,
Huh?
how's everything going at RIT?
Are you asking me or are we starting?
Both.
Should we do an intro?
Should we? No, it's fine. I'll throw an intro in there somewhere.
Okay.
This is the first. It's not like anyone's gonna watch it.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Ben,
Alrighty.
my editing skills are like 2. I can put a picture in the front that says what we are, and a little picture image, and then we're good. That's all I'm doing.
Okay. 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 Um, yeah. Um, I'm gonna need a more specific question.
How was Crew, our Church of Our? How was your last time at Church of RIT?
Um, it was a little hard actually, to have to kind of say goodbye. Um, yeah, the two guys that were there, one of the girls wasn't able to come, but the two guys that were there were kind of just like, okay, like, whatever. But um, it's a good decision to have made, but hard to move on, obviously, always.
Keep going. My
So,
foot's just stabbing my foot.
and it's a little awkward too, going to the church I participate in now that they know that um, I'm not going to be leading anymore. Um, I'm probably going to end up stepping out of that at some point, um, but not until I get my church passed on, and we're just gonna have to see
How's
the
that going?
the logistics of that. I keep forgetting to talk to the guy. It's on my list to do for today.
Your list.
Yeah,
List. Well, that's
yeah.
exciting. Well, that's fun. How's Crew now that you're stepping into a new ministry or leading a new
Cruise,
ministry?
yeah, cruise going really well. It's kind of a massive transition because I'm not used to kind of, with the house church, like it was, we're all intertwined together to a degree, but like I'm solely responsible for my church and my members. And like
Mm.
I'm solely responsible for every single one of their growth and care and spiritual health. Um, which actually, I think I told you about this. My youth pastor from back home said is not a good thing for someone who's not a full-time pastor. um, but Crew, it's one big ministry, right? And there's a lot more people in it, but there's a lot more leaders. I have 10 or 11 other leaders with me. And so I don't have to worry about large group. I don't have to worry about life group. I don't have to worry about every single
Hmm.
person. Like I'm leading my, worship night, which is like my gifting and, what God has given me. And like letting other people figure out the rest, which is good. And there's also more logistics to it, which I'm not used to. Um, but I like logistics. I don't mind logistics. So
I mean, yeah, that comes with working for a bigger, or not working, volunteering with a bigger organization that isn't Church of RIT, which what started 2 years ago? Two?
almost three now, I think.
Oh, three.
But yeah.
That's very exciting. Oh,
hmm
wow, water's so underrated. Oh my gosh, it's the best beverage.
Okay, Colorado water has spoiled me though. I don't like the water out here. I have to force myself to drink water.
What are you gonna drink? Sprite? Oh my gosh.
I have a um unnamed branded orange flavored drink.
Oh,
I,
that
I don't know what copyright rules are now.
it's orange uh Zorange? No,
hmm
Porange Grunge? Yeah.
I'm drinking the feeling you get when you see a girl you like.
Really? That's what you're going with?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fizzy? You feel fizzy?
No, Michael.
Because the little bubbles, the whatever it's called, the carbonation. Anyways, moving on from that great discussion. Yeah, this is Ben. He's pretty cool. He
Yep.
goes to. Can I say where you go to? Are you gonna die?
I think so. I don't
If you get
yeah.
sued, it's um, it's someone else's fault.
I'm not
But
officially affiliated with the school in any way, so
okay, there you go. All right, so he goes to Rochester Institute of Technology. Which maybe you've heard of it if you're a computer science
nerd.
weirdo. I was gonna go with weirdo, but that's cool. And yeah, it's very exciting. And I wanted to start a thingy where we just talked, and I expect no one to watch this, but I figured it's at least good to get our thoughts out there, even if we're wrong sometimes, which I can guarantee we will be. And our antics are pretty entertaining to watch, so I think
I
maybe.
am entertained by our antics, so I can't imagine how much other people are entertained by our
See,
antics. Or maybe
the
we're just weird and
mm,
I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, I asked another friend. I won't say his name. I'm sure he will be on here at some point. But he's like, I'm like, hey man, we're starting like a podcast thing, and he's like, what are you starting? I'm like, a podcast thing. I'm like, would you ever want to be on it? He's like, what's it about? I'm like, well, some football, some Jesus, whatever else is in between that, cars, trucks. And he's like, and he just didn't respond. And I was on the phone with him too. He just was sat there. Then went to the next point. I was like, wow, that's rude. But anyways, no, the reason I chose Mark 10, not 6, 10.
Thanks for telling me that before we started recording.
20. Hey, you've read it before, right? 23 through 27 is it's about
17
the
through 27.
yeah, no, it's 23 through. Oh wait, yeah. You're right. 17 through 27. We're doing great. Is because I go my leader or my boss or whatever you want to call him, he did a message on it last night, and he dissected how like the conservative church gets it wrong and what the true meaning behind it is. And it kind of
Mm,
blew my mind because I've had a misinterpretation of it for 19 years. So I was like, well, I guess I wasn't reading the Bible when I was coming out of the womb, but you get the idea. I had the wrong idea about it my entire growing up, so it's like, oh my gosh, he broke it. And how it's not about like doubling down on good deeds and like, well, now you should do twice as good because he calls it that he rebukes this man. It's like, no, our good deeds are like filthy rags, as he put it, or the Bible put it, one of the two. And I can say this message is not credit to me. It's from my leader. I mean, he did it so good, and all the credit goes to him on him. Well, also God first, but yeah. Anyways, what do you think about it initially reading it?
Um, so I very much had a misconception of this for a long time as well. It was fairly recently, I think, if I remember. Um, that I kind of finally understood it. It's one of those passages that you kind of don't understand, you just gloss over because you don't like it. Um, and it just always bugged me. Um, you got verse 21, Jesus saying, like, you still lack one thing, like, go sell everything you have and come follow me. And like the rich man went away sad because he's rich. And kind of like, oh, well, like, am I not a good enough Christian if I like have possessions, you know? Um, and everyone always throws around the phrase like you can't fit a camel through the eye of a needle. And I think
Mm-hmm.
actually in this story in one of the other gospels it uses that phrase. Um, and the contextual meaning of that phrase is the eye of the needle was one of the gates into the city that the camels would go through, but they couldn't go through with all their stuff, because camels they carry the stuff, right? They can't go through with all the stuff. You have to take the stuff off, let the camel into the city, and then put the stuff back on the camel. And so, um, it wasn't necessarily like, oh, you have to like live in poverty um, to be a Christian.
Mm.
Um, it's Jesus wants us to have a detachment from our physical possessions. Where your treasure is, like there your heart will be also, right? So if we are so thoroughly attached to our possessions here on earth that we wouldn't be willing to give them up for the sake of Jesus, if we are idolizing those possessions over God, um, then that's what Jesus is trying to prevent, right?
Mm.
I didn't realize that until fairly recently.
Yeah, I mean I mean I agree with you, and I mean there's so many different ways. I can't think of the exact wording. Let's see. Um, how hard is it for those who have riches to enter the kingdom of God? And it's not just
Mm,
riches of wealth. It's very easy to think about that, especially since both of us grew up in upper middle class, I would say, maybe even upper.
hmm
And we grew up in a community that was, they called it the bubble. It was literally the bubble because it had everything and you didn't need to go outside it. And a lot of people
hmm
haven't gone outside of it in 10, 20 years. And now look at
hmm
us. We're in Rochester, Grand Rapids. yeah. But I don't know. It's interesting to see that because I mean that's especially hard coming from a well-off place because it's like, well, how do you take that? And I think my roommate just died next door. Also, it's fine. He'll be fine. I, I think he just fell. It's fine. But how easy is it for us to get put idols before God and put other things before God? And how
Mm-hmm.
hard is it to follow the straight and narrow? And that's when it kind of jumps back to that last verse. Like, we can't do it, but God can help us do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to point you to something, and I want to see if you can catch it. I didn't catch it when I was reading through this with the leader, but maybe you will.
Mm-hmm.
It was nine. So why read 18 through 18 through 21.
And
Real quick.
Jesus said to him, "Why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone. You know the commandments: do not murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not bear false witness, do not defraud, honor your father and mother." And he said to them, "Teacher, all these I have kept from my youth." And Jesus, how far? 23?
21.
21. And Jesus, looking at him, loved him, and said to him, "You lack one thing. Go sell all that you have and give to the poor. You will have treasure in heaven, and come follow me."
Did you catch it?
Um,
What are
I
two
don't know
things?
I don't know if I caught what you're looking for, but this actually reminded me of a sermon I heard about a week, no, almost 2 weeks ago now. He was talking about the look that Jesus gave Peter when after Peter denied Jesus 3 times, and Jesus like looks across the courtyard at Peter, and that word is the same word like here, so when so Jesus's look of like love and compassion towards Peter, and look of like compassion towards the rich man, like that's the same word in
Mm.
in Greek. But I don't think that's what you were
I mean,
getting
it's a
at.
good point. No, that's a good point. Um, and no, I think that's a very interesting point that I would not have thought of. So there you go. That's what it's about. But I was pointing to. I didn't catch it, but it was. It goes back to the commandments, and this is what he
Mm-hmm.
didn't do. Um, do it's interesting. Jesus said, was it Jesus who said to him? Yeah. Um,
Yep.
you know the commandments: do not commit adultery, do not bear false witness, do not steal, and do not defraud. Honor your father and mother.
Mm-hmm.
He left all the ones out that were retaining to God. Those were all commandments that you could arguably keep without God. Like
Hmm.
you could never bear false witness against someone.
Hmm.
You could you could not defraud someone. You could not murder someone.
Mm-hmm.
Don't murder kids. But so what is that? Six? One, two, three, four, five. Yeah, six. So those
Mm-hmm.
are the six that you could arguably keep without God, but he leaves
Mm-hmm.
out the four that you can't.
Hmm.
It's actually really fascinating because then the dude's like, "Well, yeah, I did all those things since I was young. I did it, yeah." And I
But
feel
he
like,
forgot about the ones about God.
yeah, he got like really. I feel like that dude should be saying, and I think we're just as guilty as him. But um, well, what about the other four? Or like, what about that? But he's like,
Mm.
he said to him, "Teacher, all these things I have kept from my youth." And
Mm.
then the other fascinating point for me was, then Jesus looked at him, loved him, and said to him, "One thing you lack. Go your way, sell whatever you have, give to the poor, and
Mm,
you will have treasure in heaven. Come, take up your cross and follow me. Um, they didn't have to put in the word loved him. That seems very weird to put in there, right? By Mark.
mm-hmm.
Mark wrote Mark, right? Yes, I think so. Yeah. Um, I don't know. It's an interesting point that like he didn't just
Mm-hmm.
tell him to do this. He loved him and said.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting. It reminds me I've had a couple of conversations with people up here, just out sharing the gospel. Um, and oh, I forget, it might be Living Waters or there's some method of sharing the gospel. I forget exactly where to find it. It's basically you go through the Ten Commandments and like you ask the person if like they would live up to God's standard, right?
Mm,
Um, and so usually you start with like a fairly easy one. Um, so like lying, like we've all lied before. And that one's generally, I think, in human terms, not considered that big of a deal because we've all done it, right?
mm-hmm.
And then you go to some of these other physical ones like do not steal, do not murder, do not commit adultery. Like, I don't know. I'd say 90-95% of people have kept those. I mean, maybe the stealing one. Um, but like, I've talked to people who are like, yeah, like I've kept all those. And then you get to the God ones, and it's like, oh, well, like, have you ever taken the Lord's name in vain? And they're like, oh yeah, like all the time. And it's like, um, do you think that like is like the Lord God like the number one priority in your life? And it's like, no, like I don't even believe in God, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, and so many people think, when you ask them, it's like, are you a good person? They're like, yeah, like I think I would deserve to go to heaven. Like I've lived a pretty good life,
Yeah.
but they haven't even considered. I mean, I guess it's in the same way as this guy. He's like, I deserve by my own works to go to heaven.
Mm,
Um, and Jesus kind of showing him like it's not by your own works that you can get saved. Nothing, even going back, the first verse you had me read is Jesus like, why do you call me good? Because nobody's good except for God. You know, good in the Bible for the most part is like a synonym with perfect. And like, I'm pretty good, but I'm not perfect.
yeah.
Like good, in like the modern context, but I'm not perfect. And only someone who is perfect can get into heaven. And through man, like that is literally impossible. That's not just like a cheesy thing like, oh, through man it's impossible for me to get an A, but through God all things are possible. That's like a through man it is impossible for me to get to heaven. Like without Jesus' salvation, I would be going to hell. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's literally impossible from the moment I was born. Impossible for me to get to heaven by
Yeah.
myself, you know.
No, I mean, yeah. And it's crazy, and it's really easy to look at this guy and be like, well, why didn't you accept him right there and then? He was God. I mean, but the dude still fell at his knees
Mhm.
for Jesus. And it doesn't say whether he was saved or not, because he went away sad, so he could have been saved later. But
Mhm.
which I didn't even think about that because I thought like, oh, he walked away, he's done, cooked,
Mhm.
all over. But someone pointed out last night that's like, um, Well, that doesn't mean he didn't do it, commit later. It's just it's not in the book, which is also kind of
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because like it's very easy to scrutinize this dude and be like, dude, you didn't, you you just had to give up that one thing and you didn't do it. But I mean, if you look at it, look at your own life. I mean, I'm not asking you to share, but what is one thing that you, I mean, obviously you're trying to work on it, but like, what is one thing you have a really, really difficult time giving up? And it should be the first thing that popped in your head. And it's like, honestly, like if I didn't have the freedom to go places and like didn't have the freedom to do this, and I was like in prison, I don't know. That'd be it for me. And um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's I don't know. It's just fascinating because it's like so easy to ridicule this guy for like, oh, he didn't give up his wealth, but the wealth was his idol, and how easy is it for us to get idols, even when we're trying to follow God, and
Mm-hmm.
we even need his help in trying to follow him. We need his help to follow him. We need Jesus' help to help follow him, but we need his help to help follow him. I mean, that's how he sets the bar so low, and yet it's so high at the same time. I don't know.
Yeah. I was about to bring that up actually. Like we can so often be just exactly like this guy,
Mm-hmm.
where we're falling on our knees before Jesus, like trying to follow him, and it's like, yeah, but you don't get this. Like you get my
Mm-hmm.
entire life, but you don't get my grades. You don't get my free time. You don't get my money. You don't get my romantic relationship. Whatever it might be. And like it's so easy to hold on to that, right? Because
Yeah.
that those things are tangible. You know, a person, shows that they love you with, physical acts. Your money is like, it's there. It might be electronic in a bank account, but like it's there, right? You can use it. You can buy stuff with it. My grades, like I could pull up right now and look. I don't know. It's 3 weeks into the semester, so I probably don't have any. But those are all like very physical, tangible, quantifiable things. Treasure in heaven, as Jesus describes it multiple times, like that's not tangible. And so I think sometimes it's really hard for us to really fully trust in Jesus and be like, I trust that this intangible treasure that a human cannot physically comprehend with their mind, and that I can't experience until after I die, is better than whatever I have now.
Mm.
Like, and it can be really hard to get our brains into that mindset. And I think it still just loops back to, without God, like it's impossible. Without Jesus, like opening up our hearts and guiding our hearts and revealing himself to us, in a personal way, why would I ever decide to trust in him over myself?
Mm.
Because what he promises, if I don't know that he can fulfill his promises, like um then I wouldn't necessarily trust in him. And so like um yeah, so it's really, back to just Jesus working um in our lives, even working in others' lives, and being like sharing testimony with us, like look at how Jesus like worked through me and kept his promises with me. um and like when that he keeps his promises better than any human being, um like I think that's when you want to fully, your heart sort of wants to trust in him more.
Yeah.
Um Maybe that made sense. Maybe it didn't. But
No, it did. It did. Um, I mean, yeah, kind of going back to the last verse in it, which I have starred in this Bible, which I didn't even know I did that. But Jesus looked at them and said, "With man it is impossible, but not with God, for with God all things are possible."
hmm
Um, and that's, I mean, yeah, people like to say that and feel good about it, like, oh, God can make me pass this test. God can make me win my volleyball game tonight. Um, and yes, he can, but
hmm
it's not what he's getting at here. It's kind of going back to what he was saying earlier. It's like, do not commit adultery, do not murder, do not steal, do not bear false witness, do not defraud. Sure, we can arguably keep those. Say we lived a perfect life and we didn't, we kept those perfectly. But that still leaves 4 commandments that we didn't keep at all. Um, no idols
hmm
before God, and I can guarantee you every single person on this earth, and myself a lot, has had
hmm
idols, and it's like, yeah, it's not get. I mean, yes, it's kind of getting at like, you know, sports or whatever you want to do good in sports, and like, dear Jesus, please give me an A, like that sort of
hmm
stuff. But like the true meaning of it is like we have nothing to prove.
hmm
Like, um, I said it earlier, but it was I heard it from my leader, and it was our good deeds are. Oh, I wrote it down. Our good deeds are menstrual garments, which means trash to him. And that's not saying don't do good deeds. That's not what I'm saying. But like, our good deeds to him are menstrual garments, which is rubbish. It's trash.
hmm
It's, you get rid of it.
hmm
So how bad are our bad deeds if that's what our good deeds are? And doesn't
Yeah.
that prove more and more that we have nothing to bring to the table? Like he could do
hmm
this all on his own if he wanted, but he chooses to
hmm
use us.
hmm
Yeah.
Yep. And just even the way throughout history that he continued to protect the Israelites when they turned away from him and everything
Mm-hmm.
just so that he could die to save us. I mean, I know God doesn't do work and he's almighty, but like the amount of just the nuisances that humanity has caused for God, like, and he was still like, yeah, I'm going to be born as a baby in a manger and I'm going to be a carpenter and then I am going to be homeless for 3 years and then die on a cross so that I can have a relationship with you for eternity.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I mean,
insane.
this is mind-boggling. That
Mm.
like, we hated God. Humanity as a whole just hated God so much, and He still came to save us.
Mm.
Um, I mean that is just absolutely mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I mean, we literally killed the. Well, we did. Well, we technically, yes, we did kill him, and he rose again. But we didn't know he rose again when they killed him. My man, the Romans were like death, and the Romans didn't even want to do it. Really, it was the Jews. It was his own people that wanted to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's even the crazier part. Like, if it was Romans, like, yeah, you could. I mean, yeah, the Romans did it, but like, um, it was really the Jews who were crying out for the Romans to do something, and I forgot his name, but he was scared because I think it was like if he had one more insurrection round against him, he'd be killed. So he killed
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, or not killed Jesus. He followed what the people wanted him to do, which was to kill Jesus. I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
getting back to the whole point of this, whole passage that like we we can't we don't have anything to prove. He doesn't need to use us, and I feel like that's hard for a lot of people to hear. It's like, man, I'm doing God's work. Like I do this to feel God. And the truth of the matter is it's like it doesn't matter like what we
Mm-hmm.
feel. It's his will. Like he's gonna get it
Mm-hmm.
done with or without us. But he is so loving and so caring. Not only did he send his son to die on the cross for us, he also wants to include us in our plan in his plans, even though he doesn't need us for them. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's like when I talk about the Bible, I know it's not like it takes a lot of the pressure off in a lot of ways. Like because even if you mess up and you're gonna mess up and you're gonna have to deal with that and that sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
God's still using that for good in some way.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't necessarily see how.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, yeah, I mean, I think the whole point for me was you have nothing to prove, and this verse is kind of like the personified version. If you follow Jesus, you get something, which isn't true. I mean, yeah, you get eternal life and you get stuff, but like, um, you don't get anything by following Jesus, if that makes sense, in a way. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
don't get material goods by following Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
You get something better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
think
I agree. Yeah.
I don't know. This passage kind of blew my mind because I was like, oh, I've read this 18 million times, and the new twist was really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know.
Yep.
Any concluding thoughts on it?
Um, I guess maybe the one thing I'd say we've kind of, I mean, danced around this a little bit, but like, it's not like Jesus is asking us to live, obviously I said not asking us to live in physical poverty, but he's not asking us to live in spiritual or emotional poverty either.
Mm,
Like Jesus says, I believe it's John 10:10, that like he came to give us life and not just life, but abundant life.
yeah.
Um, and so like there is that promise in following Jesus. And you may not physically have a lot. Like there are definitely people that physically don't have a lot. Um, but like I know people, I mean, I've been down, to Haiti and Mexico, people who have, virtually nothing, and they're more spiritually and emotionally filled than 98% of the people living here in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, so like there is still that promise. It's not like Jesus is saying, yeah, your life, if you follow me, is gonna suck. I mean, it's gonna be hard. He promises that. But
Yeah.
he also promises that like it will be so fulfilling and so rewarding, you know?
I mean, yeah. He talks about here not. I mean, yeah. He says, sell off your riches, but he's not just referring to money riches, right? Um,
Yeah.
he's referring to any form of idol that you're
Yep.
keeping above God. It's not. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like saying. I'm not trying to say to anyone who is listening to this, if they do, to sell everything and go follow Jesus. And maybe that is your
Mm-hmm.
calling, and that's amazing. But like the anything that's above God, you need to purge away with,
Mm-hmm.
or put under control, or yeah.
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 All right. I think we tackled that passage pretty good, especially
Yeah,
for
I'd
you
say that's pretty good.
reading it for the first time, like as we started recording.
I mean, I've read it before, but yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, I was reading Mark 6 last night, and then you're like, I want to focus on the rich man. I was like, yeah, I don't remember a rich man, but like it was 2:30. Maybe I just didn't read it thoroughly enough.
Mark 10. Mark 10. Not Mark 6. Not Mark 6. Mark 10. It's fine. It's fine. All right, we'll actually do an outro this time because I don't want to edit it in an outro. I'll edit in an intro, but outro, that's too much work. I have
I
homework
don't
to
even know
do.
how you're gonna edit this to begin with.
I'm not. I'm gonna put a little in, gonna say a thing, and then I'm basically gonna do like an intro, like, hey, welcome to whatever, or redemption through brokenness. I don't know, what are we calling this? Do we know what we're calling this yet?
I'm fine with redemption through brokenness.
Oh,
I
that's the
think I
channel
think
name.
that's a good name.
All right, we're calling that the podcast. Is this a podcast technically?
Well, I don't know. Technically not, because we just reported our faces.
Yeah, so it's not a
So
podcast. Um, video.
not on the radio, so it's not a talk show.
Well, I need to
It's
know
an
what to call
interview.
it.
No, it's not an interview because you weren't asking me questions.
I mean, I guess I asked you questions, but we both answered, so um, we'll figure it out.
It's a video cast.
It's a video cast, yeah. Welcome to Redemption Through Brokenness video cast. Yeah, but anyone who does this, watch this maybe in 20 years,
Oh,
or maybe my kids when I have them eventually. Well, I think we're gonna shoot for one a week, and then I may do something else once a week. So maybe 2 uploads a week. Probably not. It's probably gonna be one more realistically. And there's gonna be weeks we don't get to it because we're both busy. And
mm-hmm.
I'm playing. I'm in season for my sport in college, so that's a lot. And you are obviously, and in a varsity, and then you are obviously doing crew. So and have
Yep.
personal people.
Personal people.
Well, I don't know how much I can say. I don't want to get in trouble the first podcast or video cast.
Oh.
I already got in trouble with a friend, someone, special someone. I already got a friend throwing in the the couch. I think you know what I'm saying.
No, I don't. We're just gonna have to talk about it later.
Oh yeah, I don't want to expose them, and then knowing my luck, someone's gonna watch this and then somehow find his Instagram and somehow message him, and then it's gonna be a whole debacle. People are too smart on the internet. It's true. This is why you're the computer science major and the business and seminary major. Between the two of us, we can do great things. And the other friend who's the engineering major, and he's there around. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you watched this far, I'd be very impressed if you watched this far. You deserve it like a gold star if you watched this far. But yeah, this is Redemption Through Brokenness video cast. Episode 1. Oh yeah. Alright, bye-bye.